Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of Jacob's Ladder. We have a lot to discuss, and we have a lot of stuff that is just breaking right about now. This is something that is so stressful. A lot of you are in this hurricane's path. And I would advise, if you're getting any alerts or anything else, that you should just listen. You should probably move on and not consider this to be like a waste of your time. Oh, it's going to be fine. If they tell you you should evacuate, I'm thinking you need to evacuate. I don't know if you heard, but this Hurricane Milton, which we're going to talk about today in a way that you probably wouldn't suspect, because there's a lot of prophetic undertones to all of this stuff. Because, I look at everything spiritually. I come on here and I want to share something that is going to encourage you and lift you up. But I feel like that moment when Jesus was talking to Peter and he said, Simon, he called him Simon. He didn't call him Peter. He spoke to his first nature. He said, Simon, Simon, Satan's going to sift you like wheat. We're going to be tested. And my goodness, what a test we are under. It's ironic that the name of the storm is Milton. We're going to talk about why that is. Because the last time that there was a storm like this, it was Michael. And because Michael was so just terrible, they actually retired the name. So this storm should be called Michael. You're going to find how all of this is going to tie into the political arena as well, with the Trumpster sharing Michael defeating Satan. A picture that is, well, you probably recognize from a very beautiful long poem called Paradise Lost, which is about the garden, and which is about the battle that takes place at the very end between the archangel Michael and between the devil. When the devil is cast down and chained. What a show. What a show. I wish that when I was coming on here, I wasn't just given the news that it has now been, I don't know if you know this, but Milton is now upgraded to a Category 5. Category 5. Now, we're coming off the heels of probably one of the largest hurricanes and devastation that followed in the Appalachians. Everything that went down in the Carolinas. You know that flooding is something that we've been concerned with. A lot of weird stuff going on with the weather. Some people are saying that maybe people are edging and pushing and putting these storms on steroids. We're going to talk about all this and a lot more on today's show. But it is a monster. It is a monster that, after the Economist magazine cover came out in 2023, and I did a little bit of a breakdown of that magazine, you probably remember me talking to the donut on that infamous show that we did, where it seems like all the things that we talked about on that show are now like literally happening now. Everything from the lithium to I said more storms en route. That's because they have, if you look to the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see the Category 5 symbol right there on their cover. And now it's been upgraded to a Category 5, rapidly intensifying. This is not a normal occurrence. It doesn't often happen that it rapidly increases this quickly. Before I even came on here, it was a Category 4. I was ready to go, and then I got this news. They upped it one more time. The National Hurricane Center, from data the Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter algorithm, indicates that Milton has strengthened to a Category 5. Maximum sustained winds estimated to be 160 miles an hour. Every single Floridian should fill their cans with water, get some food, get some clothing. That's what DJ Dan is saying in the live chat. And I see a lot of you are here already. Good. Hit the like so more people can, especially those that are in Florida. This is something. I don't want to get bogged down in whether or not all of this is like a natural event. It doesn't matter. It's an occurrence. It's happening, which means that it's in God's will, which sounds pretty crappy. But we knew that these days were going to be hard. We knew that things were going to get a little bit out of control, and out of control they have. Here's the path. If you take a look at the lower left-hand corner, you can see that by Thursday, it'll be smack dab over the middle of this. Now, you probably remember me talking. I talked about Grandma Marie, who lives in Florida. She lives in Jupiter. We wanted to get her back. I had this really just bad feeling about hurricane season this year. I had this terrible feeling. You know, I've been doing show after show after show on the flood, and I've been trying to get her here, and finally she's here. She was going to go back, but we really kind of wrangled her, and now she's very happy that she's here. Of course, she doesn't have flood insurance. A lot of people don't, because you don't expect stuff like this to happen. Now, it hasn't happened yet, okay? It's already happened. So I want to keep that. I want to put a pin in that, because if there's something that we can do, if we can pray by the end of this show and we can maybe see a different picture, maybe that'll happen. Picture I'm seeing isn't so hot right now. It isn't so hot. And it doesn't help that the name Milton literally means, who looked this up? Oh, we have a lot of people here. Oh my goodness. Welcome everybody. If you're new to the show, I'm glad you're here. Smash the like, share the link around, tell your friends. This is a very symbolic event that's happening. This is nothing that you would think should be, we don't want to make light of this. You know, this is something that we 100% want to take seriously. And you'll notice that Milton, this morning it was upgraded. You see that I was still working on this. It was upgraded to a category 4. Now it's category 5. But Milton, you'll see, as I have written there, it means mill town. Now, do you know what a mill is? A mill is where they thresh grain and wheat. A mill. In fact, it's in scripture. One of the famous ones you probably remember, the one that's about the rapture, which we know is not being literally poofed away. It's being changed within. It's being taken. Paralambano, which means to basically you're taken by a new message, a new truth, and you cast away the other. It's not about being poofed away and being left behind, but it's about being changed. You take up Christ in your heart, and your old life you cast away, because that's what the word left means. So if you look at this scripture, you'll see 2 women are grinding with a hand at the mill. One is taken and one is left. One is taken, one is left. The mill where they thresh wheat. You'll see that I have Elon down there. He's threshing a little bit of wheat with his Dark MAGA hat on. I don't know why I thought to put him as the guy who will be sifting you as wheat. But we got satellites all over the world. Starlink is the big thing. Starlink is the big thing. If you got Starlink, you're going to be okay, as, you know, if you're going to get my shows. But if there's going to be an issue like there has just been in the Carolinas, which we were worried about, we talked about, I just did a show about it. And you probably remember the thumbnail where I wrote, "The devastation has just begun." Now, when I wrote that, I didn't tell you everything, but I worried that maybe things would get even worse because of what may be happening out there and what's happening in the world because of it. I'm more concerned about things that are kind of moving in, that are having an effect on our planet, the tides, the waters, these storms, and I've been talking about it. But you'll notice that on June 11th, 19, that's when I was born, 1971, June 11th, 2024, I did 2 shows about the flood that was coming. Genesis 7:11 is, of course, a thing. 7-Elevens are in the news right now. I don't know if you saw this. I think before I came on here, I saw that Lisa sent me something about 7-Eleven. Another 7-Eleven has been ransacked. These flash mobs are attacking 7-Elevens. Now, remember what 7-Eleven is. It was the flood. And Genesis 7:11 is when God opens the heavens and the rain pours out. Now, you probably remember me doing my last show. And if you haven't seen my last video, you should. It's on my main page. By the end, I ate that fig on the tree on Rosh Hashanah, right? During a solar eclipse over the Easter Islands on Rosh Hashanah, while there was a great comet that was halfway between the sun and the earth as a mediator. We talked about all this, just the amazing symbolism of it all. 2022, on October 13th, 11/11, a warning ignored. Trump and the coming flood. And then, of course, my video that I just did on September 20th, September 30th, where I said the devastation has just begun. And it seems like there's going to be, like even DeSantis, I don't know if you've seen him. He's been doing a lot of news. He's looking very, very much like a leader. He sounds like a leader. He's telling people not to panic, but to take it seriously. And as I'm reading here in the live chat, it says that 7-Elevens all over the place are out of gas in Florida. I don't know. I haven't checked that out yet, but that kind of seems to track, doesn't it? This is the day we're in. I told everybody that we were going to be entering a time where you would have these, two groups of individuals. This is when the devil comes down onto the earth for 1,000 years, right? Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth. But it says those that are dwelling in heaven rejoice. There's going to be hard times for a lot of people. And just because you're going through a hard time, it does not mean that you're a bad person. It just means that God is moving you from one thing to the next. So don't stress too much about it. But yes, so flooding has been something that has been on my mind and I've talked about for a couple of years now. Just seems like that would be the thing that we should perhaps concern ourselves with, especially after we just had what we had in the Carolinas. It's weird. RC Retro is saying that Milton's making landfall on October 9th. It is weird. You're going to find out why that is, because a lot of people said that today and to the 9th, they're like credible threats. I don't know if you heard about the credible threats, that they're worried. Dan, last week, Danielle, my beautiful wife, who's an amazing teacher, she had a lockdown, a drill last week. They drilled lockdowns because there have been warnings. Because we know that today is the day where that attack took place on Israel. And we've seen what happened since. Everything that's gone down in the Middle East and everything that's continuing to happen now in Beirut. Oh, this is like, part of me gets very excited when I share this stuff with you. But the other part of me is like, what about the human toll? What about the consequence? It's devastating. It's devastating. But why I take heart and I don't see it as being all that bad, I'm going to share with you some pretty amazing good news. Some good news. So let's take a second. We're going to talk about the name Milton, okay? Milton, which rapidly surged to a Category 5 in less than a day. It actually went from Category 4 to Category 5 in a couple of hours. The reason that it's called Milton is because Michael was retired. Michael, I don't know if you remember, in 2018 on October 10th. That's why we're talking about the October 9th, brother. You see? Here we are from 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 6 years. 6 years since Michael devastated all of that area in Florida. 6 years to the day, the name Michael, and we know Michael, okay, I should have worn my necklace, the Archangel Michael, defeating Satan. Big thing on the channel. We talked about it quite a bit because it's usually my necklace, the one that my wife gave me, which was a Mandela effect. Michael, the name retired. Now we have Milton taking its place. Milton, which means mill town. The town of the mill. The town of the mill. Why was Michael retired? Well, because Michael was probably just the most damaging, and it caused the largest amount of loss of life in 2018. There's a picture right in the background, but there you see John Milton, Paradise Lost. Now, here's the thing. This is a little freaky. I get a little goosebumps when I start to think about this. We got like 1,000 people here already. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for hitting the soup. Let me see how many of you hit that like, because that's important. And by the way, the buckle up shirt I keep saying I'm going to get rid of, I haven't gotten rid of it yet. So if you want, I will take it down. I promise. I just not that great with the marketing. If you want, you can get this special edition t-shirt, this buckle up t-shirt. It's still available. You just click the link in the description. All that stuff, everything. If you want to get yourself a coffee mug or anything else, you want to get yourself a copy of The Calling, become a patron, all of this stuff, it helps the channel. It allows me to do what I do. I'm glad that you're here. I usually save this to the end. But when you're looking at stuff like this, Zechariah, you know that this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Milton now takes its place. Paradise Lost. Every time I go to Florida, every time I go to visit, and we don't go that often, but when we do go to visit Grandma Marie, I always say it's like paradise here. Jupiter's so beautiful. I always say it's like paradise. And here's the thing. Paradise may be lost if the storm is what everybody's saying it is. And there's a lot more to this story that kind of freaks me out when it comes to spiritually speaking. When we get into it, you'll understand what I'm saying. It's connected to Trump. It's connected to Elon. It's connected to all the things that are happening right now. It's connected to this. They just had this big rally. Remember in Butler? We talked about how it was going to happen. The Butler did it in Butler. But you take a look at these, these two. They're pretty much in every one of my thumbnails when it comes to that. Why would Elon be so connected to all of this stuff? Well, if you look at Starlink, it's covering the Earth, has lasers. It emits like radiation and like a frequency. It could literally change the entire frequency of this planet. So I've read. Somehow. I don't know how it does it. There's got to be a reason why he was allowed to do it, right? I've talked about this on the last couple of shows. There's got to be a reason. There's got to be a reason why we have these monster storms and these happenings that it's quite abnormal. In the grand scheme of things. It's not something you see all the time. You don't see storms intensifying this quickly. Hurricane Michael was retired in 2018 because the storm that hit on the 10th. Now we have Milton. But here's weird, right? Because the Trumpster put out a picture of Michael defeating Satan. Now, he put this out on actually like St. Michael's Day or something. A lot of people were, why did he put it out there? Of course, I was interested because this is something that I put out at the beginning of the year. TikTok, a test for the clock. Do you remember that? Like Jacob and the angel stop in their fight as day breaks from night and Jacob's troubles he forgot. I put that little test out there for the U.S. debt clock, and then it was like 7 days later, the U.S. debt clock had like hidden off to the side, Michael beating the devil. There's a picture of Michael banishing the devil from Paradise Lost. It's the same picture. Paradise Lost, written by who? Milton. Milltown. Milton. So 39 weeks exactly from when I put my little St. Michael by Raphael, the Trumpster puts out his little St. Michael. 39 weeks. That was how many times Jesus got lashed. I think it was 39 lashes. Am I correct? Someone's going to have to double check and fact check me on that. I think it was like 40 lashes less one. So 39 lashes. And he shares out an image that you can find in the very story, that beautiful poem that goes on and on and on about the fall of man, Paradise Lost, by John Milton. Weird. Okay, Lala says that I am correct. That's good, because I would have looked bad. It's an interesting thing. A lot of people are talking about Elon jumping on the Trump bandwagon. Well, you know that I said that was going to happen, right? We'll get to it. But it is funny. I saw a little meme where you see two people. I wish I had it. It was very funny. Two people going to the bathroom. And it says like me, and then it says Elon. And then the next frame, you see Elon next to the guy going to the bathroom. And he says, do you know our Lord and Savior Donald Trump? Because it does seem like he's really laying it on thick for the guy. Wouldn't it be funny if he didn't like him at all? Lauren, wouldn't that be funny if he didn't like him at all? And it was all a big show? Who knows? Listen, I'm all for what God is doing. As the old meme goes, I'm for the current thing. I'm for whatever God is doing. God is doing this. He's done this. I didn't intercede on Helene's behalf and pray and say, Lord, maybe you can just make this thing calm down a little bit. I didn't do it that last time, and look where that got us. Maybe we really need to do some interceding and praying today. You know why? Because I talk about these two numbers, right? These two sets of numbers, the cicadas, the 13-year cycle, the 17-year cycle, 13 being, the death card, which we've explained, and 17 being that resurrection card. These two groups of individuals, those that are cursed, those that are blessed. The wheat and the tares. How do you find the wheat from the tares? Well, how do you sift the wheat? Well, this is what's happening. We're being sifted as wheat. That's why it's Milton, Milltown. Do you know that Milton is the 13th named storm? Now, that doesn't bode well for me. If I think about, I look at things like symbolically, and I'm like, this is the 13. 13 is like the death card. 13th storm. The 13th named storm, 9th hurricane, the 4th major hurricane of this season. Now, why do I have state of emergency issued for Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando Resort? Well, you remember I had a little weird dream? I have dreams. If you're new to the channel, it sounds kooky. I encourage you, if you have your dreams and you're on social media, to right when you wake up, quickly post them. Say dream and then post them. See what happens. The scriptures say that in the end days, God pours out his spirit upon flesh. The young men are going to have the old men are going to have that. They're going to have dreams. They're going to have visions. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. In the book of Job, it says that God speaks to us in our dreams. Though a man, during the day, we're too busy. But at night, when a man slumbers, he speaks. Yea, he speaks. Not once, but 3 times he speaks, or something like that. When he slumbers in our dreams. So post them. I had this dream, and it was on September 30th. This is nothing new. You know that I share this stuff all the time. I was visiting an aquarium, and a poisoned green toad escaped because of a flood. It was Disney, I believe. Next, I was separated from my family. They took an earlier boat. I jumped into another boat. We had to travel away from the devastation of the Carolinas, and we landed in Georgia. I do what I can. I work with what I can work with. But here's the thing. Trump at this Butler event with Elon, that was something to watch. I don't know how many of you saw it. Did a lot of you see it? Because it was definitely something to watch. But this is something that, I said was going to be like a thing. Like it was going to be one of these things where they were going to come together, the Wonder Twins. The Wonder Twins were going to come together like never before. Artemis and Apollo. You take a look at that thumbnail right there, you'll see it says May 16th, 2022. Now, here's the weird thing, okay? In that post on the top, you see it says, when will Elon endorse Donald Trump? I'm thinking of space with the two of them. I mean, come on, man of the people, exciting days. I said I think this was before he even started leaning towards the right in May of 2022. Two of them coming together. Now, why do I say Artemis and Apollo? At the time, there were two statues of Artemis and Apollo that were discovered. Artemis is the moon god. Apollo is the sun god. Apollo brings the plague and cures the plague. Just, so you understand that. Artemis is known for the hunch. The hunt, not the hunch. I had a hunch about the hunt that was coming. I had a hunch about the plagues that came. God warned us, and now we have to be prepared. So I wrote, when will Elon endorse Donald Trump? Because I knew it was coming. I'm thinking of space between the two of them. And then they ended up doing a space together, and he ended up endorsing them. But you want to hear what's weird? Take a look at how many months and days between the announcement. So even after the space, now it was 9 months and 11 days. 9/11 warning. It's weird. 9/11. He's speaking at the event. He's going crazy. He's jumping up and down. He's having a good old time. I think personally, because I'm a guy that really acts out. By the way, right now there's 1,119 people. Take a look. How amazing is that? And how many people we got hitting the like? Can we get like 1,000 likes like we used to before YouTube started messing with us? Can we get like 1,000 likes? Can we do that today? Hit the like, will you? Share this around. I think it's a good thing to rejoice. Now, here's weird. On August 20th, 2022, I reminded everybody what MAGA meant. Now, I understand it's an acronym for Make America Great Again, okay? I understand that the Space Force hat, when you turn it upside down, it does look like the bath mat. I'm not saying that it means sorcery and witchcraft. I'm just saying when you don't put the periods in between it, MAGA means witch. It means sorcerer. It means witchcraft in Latin. It means corruption and other things. So I told people on August 20th, 2022, I said, you should know that MAGA means witch in Latin. And it is also the highest rank in the Church of Satan, which it is, 5th degree. I said, look it up. And then I wrote, time for a new slogan. Unless it's on purpose, which would be weird. And Dark MAGA sounds really spooky, don't you think? Dark MAGA. The new slogan. Dark MAGA comes out. Here's the thing. You know me with the dates. I know that Dan always says, don't do it. You want to reach more people? Stop with the numbers. But yet, I do it because it's become like a thing for me. Like, okay, Lord, if these numbers are like interesting, I'll share it because it'll be like a little bit of a confirmation for me. So I go between that post to, and it's 777 days. 777 days after I reminded everyone what MAGA meant. And I said, it's time for a new slogan. And Dark MAGA does sound spooky. It's very strange. And then I wrote, don't take the bait. Fight, fight, fight. Now, why is 777 so strange? Because that day, Elon chose to follow 777 followers. He chose to follow. So he wasn't at 777. He was at 77 whatever. But the very day that he says Dark MAGA, man, what sorcery is this? I like to say, do you remember when Moses went into Pharaoh? Moses, little shepherd. What did he have, right? He had a little flock. He had a tiny flock. He didn't have like the huge flocks. He worked for Jethro. I think that was the name of the guy that he worked for. And his little flock. He just had the staff. This is what he had. Like, I got this YouTube channel. That's all I got. This is what do you got in your hand? God wants to know. What do you got in your hand? I want you to speak to the people. I want you to speak to the people, Jacob, right? Could you imagine? I I want you to tell people about this kooky dream you had. I want to, this is, we get inspired. I want you to share your heart. I want you to share your testimony. And I'm like, what do I got? He's like, you got your YouTube channel. I'm like, I only got a couple of hundred subs. And then what happens? I have a dream. I do a weird video. It goes viral. Now here we are. How many years later? I think it's like 8 years later from that moment. What do you got in your hand, Moses? Moses is like, I got this staff. He goes, you go into Pharaoh. You take your staff. And when you throw it down, it's going to become a snake. And it'll eat up all their snakes. And it does. So they could be like sorcerers. Then Moses came in. He faced the sorcerer's head down. The sorcerers, they threw one thing after another thing. And he's like, look at mine. You got 777 followers. 777 days ago. Look what I said. And then here it is. This really should encourage all of you. Because I feel like this is the day that we need to take what God has given us and be willing to throw it down. Be willing to throw it down. This is what happened with Gideon. Do you remember the story of Gideon? Who understands the story of Gideon? Gideon, who was so scared, right? He was so scared. And God's like, I want you to take on the bad guys. And this is how you're going to do it. You know what Gideon was doing? He was hiding in a mill where you thresh wheat. He was hiding in a mill. He was hiding because of the enemies. And God's like, I want you to take, this group. And he's thinking, oh, this is good, like 10,000. He's like, no, I want you to take this group. Those that drink a certain way, those that never take their eye off the enemy, that drink like this instead of those that lap it up like dogs. And he ends up with 300 people to take on a huge army. But you know what he did? They put a torch underneath these pots, these clay pots. And then when time was right, they were on the mountain, ready to go. When the time was right in the darkness, they threw the pots down and they blew the ram's horn. And it scared everybody. And they started killing each other. You see that happening today? You see all the powerful people today killing each other, tearing each other down, attacking each other? Could this be the day that we're in? I think so. I think it's a quinky-dinky-do. That I said Dark MAGA really sounds spooky, and then 777 days later, Elon's wearing a Dark MAGA hat. Yeah. They're teaming up. Artemis and Apollo, the two of them. He's going to be the Doge King, Department of Government Efficiency. You're fired. Here's the thing. I think that we're going to see such a shakeup soon that it's going to make even this goofy stuff where he's jumping up and down, which I got to tell you, it was endearing to me. It's endearing to me. I like the character Elon. I like the character Trump. What's not to like? And for whatever reason, God is using these people. But do I think that they're 100% on our side? Do I think that they have our physical, wonderful best interests in mind? Not so much. Not so much. I think very much that the guy who wears the Devil's Champion's outfit, for example, not calling him the Antichrist because he is not that, but he is a world ruler, much like the pharaohs of old. And if the devil is coming to sift you like wheat, if the days ahead are there to test you and try you because you've been corrupt, so be it. The storm's name is Milton for a reason. And you have entered the threshing floor, whether you know it or not. I can't get away from the fact. Who's the god of this world? The devil. Satan is the god of this world. Jesus said, I'm not of this world. He came into this world to deliver those people that were captives here and set them free. This is a testing ground. That's why the book of Revelation says, woe unto you, because the devil's come down onto you. You remember on June 6th, 2023, so it was 666, which by the way, the letter F is the sixth letter. And at that Butler event, you see fight, fight, fight everywhere. Fight, fight, fight. I mean, you can't miss it. They're standing there saying they're so corrupt, they're so corrupt, they're so corrupt, they're so bad, they're so bad, they hate you, they're going to kill you, they're going to kill you. They say all these terrible things as they're up there speaking about the people that are in power, how they don't play fair, they're this, and you see fight, fight, fight. What do you think kind of sorcery is that? What kind of sorcery is that? I come on here and I say, you need to pay attention. Red alert. Red alert. You need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. Because the sorcerers, they're doing their mightiest. They're doing their mightiest. But you know what? Can they hurt you? Can they hurt you? Can they hurt me? Can anything hurt us ultimately? So long as we're doing the will of God. I'm not so sure. I do know that as Satan has asked to sift us like wheat, once again, not calling Elon Satan. Please. You know, the people that say that stuff, it's like you minimize the truth of what Satan is. When you call Donald Trump, he's the Antichrist. I know I did videos. Remember I did the video with the coffin dream? I titled it Revelation's Fatal Head Wound Revealed. But then I went on to explain it's not one literal man. John said very clearly that there are many antichrists in the world. Many antichrists in the world. It's not just one. The Antichrist stands in the temple of God. We're the temple of God. Point to your temples. That lying spirit that is anti-Christ, anti the power and wisdom of God and love, that's standing inside of you, demanding you hate other people because you were told this, or demanding you should, when you hear crazy news that's coming in the future about the political climate and your heroes, when something that you think is a done deal becomes not a done deal anymore, and they're crying foul, are you going to fight, fight, fight? Or do you remember that you came to Jacob's channel and he showed you his staff on his YouTube channel? He threw it down and he said, we're going to eat those snakes. We're not going to follow after them in their ways. I had a dream about Disney flooding. And there was this yellow-green toad, and I looked up Disney and yellow-green toad. You know the name of the toad? It's a Jim Henson toad, owned by Disney. Milton. The good news is, we may be in the threshing floor, but the threshing floors are going to be filled with grain, and the vats are going to flow with new oil. Let the sifting begin. That's what I say. Let the sifting begin. The fight's already on. I didn't get to talk about, this guy Milley saying that the UN is a Leviathan. All of the people and all the powers and all of the sinister powers that be, the dark forces, those that we wrestle against, they're already in place. They're in play. And now what we need to do is we need to get our house in order, make sure everything's buttoned up and tight. We need to do the right thing. We need to help others in their time of need, not turn a blind eye, and not live in fear. There's torment and fear, and God is not in it. So if you're scared, then you ain't listening to God, my friends. All you got to do is ask for the truth. Help me. That's it. You should be doing that now before you end up in a situation where we see all of Florida, Disney devastated. By the way, people are like, oh, maybe that would be a good thing. Disney being flooded because they said something about tunnels, and I didn't look into it too much. But I'll tell you one thing. If a place is corrupt, it's going to come down. It's going to come down. I just hope that everybody takes these orders and listens. So pay attention. Don't think that you're above. Sometimes, God wants you to move. When God tells you to move, you better move. Or it's going to be harder to do so. All right. We got a lot of people here. I thank you for coming. Do me a favor. Go to the description of the video. Get yourself some of the merch. This is going away in a week. Definitely this time. Get yourself a copy of The Calling. It's the greatest novel ever written, and it is written for a time like this. There's over 1,000 reviews. Just go to Amazon.com, type in Jacob Israel The Calling, or click the link below. Read some of the reviews. If you've never read a book, you'll be glad you did. You want to get yourself some Truly Free Home? Go to trulyfreehome.com, and all your cleaning supplies, you should order it from them. It's recyclable. All of this is my only sponsor, the only sponsor I've ever gotten. Steven's a great guy. I know him well. All of his stuff, you don't got to worry about toxins or anything else made in everything's like sourced in the States, and it's like environmentally sound. You don't use 18 different bottles. One bottle, they send these packages, and it's nice. Less expensive. They ship it to your house. And the dishes, I do the dishes with it. We use their dish soap is better, and you don't get that terrible smell. So get yourself some Truly Free Home product at trulyfreehome.com. Enter code Jacob. You get 30% off. That's a big discount. He's a great guy. I love all of you. Thank you very much. Have the best day ever. Don't forget to let me know what you think in the comment section. And give everybody around you a big hug. And pray, that this storm